Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Sarah Allen, and you are on A Little Bit of Magic. And if you are aware of my show, you know that I focus on unexpected connections, inspiration, and healing. And this is a behind-the-scenes look from Deer Park Monastery in Madison, Wisconsin, and it encompasses all of that and more. It's one of the really brightest pieces I have done thus far, or maybe the brightest, just spiritually, and in such a healing way. If you recently saw my video on the Dalai Lama's 90th birthday celebration, there is a whole backstory behind that, and I want to fill you in, and I hope I remember all the details because there's a lot. So I, first of all, met Geshe Lharampa Lundhup Jinpa. He is an esteemed scholar and experienced Buddhist monk and teacher, spiritual leader. I happen to be in the airport, so I'm going to take you back to December of 2024. I was home visiting my family in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and I was flying out of Madison, Wisconsin, and I came out of the bathroom and I saw this very serene monk sitting there at the gate in his saffron and maroon robes, and I thought, I'm going to go talk to him. So I went and I sat down and talked to him. Well, first we just smiled at each other, and we started talking immediately. And even though, this man, when you are a Geshe Lharampa and the Gelug School of Tibetan Buddhism, that is the highest academic level that you can reach. It takes 20 to 25 years to get this level. He was born in Tibet. He fled to Nepal. As you know, probably know that China has occupied Tibet since 1959. So a lot of Tibetan monks live in exile in other countries. A lot of Tibetans live in exile. A lot of Tibetans have never been to their home country. So he fled to Nepal. Then he went to India to study. And then he went back to Nepal to teach and study. And now he is a resident monk, spiritual leader, and teacher at Deer Park Buddhist Center in Oregon, Wisconsin, outside of Madison. But all of that considered, his English is extremely limited. But I have lived overseas numerous times. I taught English as a second language and bilingual education for many years. And I think that combination of in my natural curiosity about other cultures, we were able, and the communication is not just words. We were able to have this very rich conversation where he explained his whole history. It was just beautiful, and I was just thrilled. And then they had him seated in an exit row, but he did not have sufficient English, and the gate agent wasn't so polite to him. You know how that can be in the airports. So she asked, "Are you with him?" And I said, "Yeah, I am with him." And I was able to switch positions with him, and I sat in the exit row for him, and he sat in my seat. And on the plane, he was texting me because we exchanged numbers. "I'm so happy we met." And I said, "I am so happy we met too." He just said, "I'm so happy, thank you." And it was just so sweet. And then when he got off the plane, he was going to visit his friend and monk, Jampa. And I helped him get through the airport because he just didn't seem to really know how to navigate to get down there. And I realized I had a layover. I was going back to Oregon. And there was a woman that overheard us, and she said, "I can take him the rest of the way," because I didn't want to go through security. And then I was calling and I was talking to my mom, and I thought, I really wish I would have gotten a picture. And she said, "Sarah, if it's meant to be, he will call you back." And lo and behold, immediately after that, he called me back. And I asked if I could go downstairs, and Jampa, his friend, was on the phone, and he is very fluent. He's a traveling monk. I think right now he's actually in Colombia, South America. He said, "Come on down and we'll take a picture." So we took a picture together, and you can see it's on the title page here. You can see the picture of us all together. And that was just, I'm going to put that picture in a frame. But I was just so happy. And he said, it is no accident that you met us. You were meant to meet us because you are here. And I'll always remember that. And I think I will always be friends forever with Geshe Lharampa Jinpa. So we have kept in contact. Occasionally, I'll get a message from him saying, "How are you?" and just saying, hello, how are you? And it just brings me back to center. I can have something chaotic going on in the world or a problem. And when I get his message, I just feel this peace that there's something greater than, just what's going on right in front of me. So we've kept in contact. Soon after that meeting, I went to Miami and I stayed with my friend Sammy. I call him Sammy from Miami. He is one of my dearest and best friends, and he has an Airbnb. And I met a really fascinating woman. Her name is Maureen. And Maureen is Burmese, and she was so fascinated with Chinese medicine, which I practice, as you know. And she had a friend with her who was a major researcher scientist working on the CERN in Europe, and that is the largest particle collider in the world. I mean, they are really like studying the origins of the earth. And I thought, here, this man is so interested in Chinese medicine, and look what he's doing. But they were so fascinating, and they were lovely people. And I was talking to Maureen about meeting this monk, and she told me she's a world traveler. They both grew up going to school in India, and she had met the Dalai Lama several times and had scarves blessed by the Dalai Lama. So you might notice I'm wearing this scarf here today. This is called a Khata, and Khata is not just a scarf, but it's also a Tibetan Buddhist blessing. It's offered as a blessing. And so when she found out that I met and made friends with Geshe Lharampa Jinpa, she actually sent me this scarf. And so she is from New York. She now lives in New York City. But I got this envelope in the mail to my parents' house in Viroqua, Wisconsin, and it contained this scarf, which has been blessed by the Dalai Lama. And I was just amazed. And Maureen, if you're watching this, I just will always cherish this scarf. Just amazing. So she wanted me to have Geshe Lharampa Jinpa bless it, so because I was going to his residence, and I had been to his residence, and I didn't get the scarf in time, but I was able to meet him at Deer Park, and he brought a translator, and we had the best conversation, and we shared Tibetan tea and cookies. And then we've remained in contact. So when I started this YouTube channel, I thought, wouldn't it be amazing to interview Geshe Lharampa Jinpa and really spread his message to the world? So I was able to translate a message into Tibetan and asked him to be on my YouTube channel, which you will see in this upcoming interview. I was just thrilled. He specially got his translator to be present, and her name is Katrina Brooks. She is just amazing. For not living in Tibet, I don't know how she became so fluent. Being that I have lived overseas numerous times, I know how difficult it is to learn a second language, and she's very impressive and very generous. If you're watching, Katrina, thank you so much for doing such a beautiful job and for sacrificing your time. But after this during the interview, at the very end, I realized there's something going on here, because there were all these Tibetans coming in with trays of food, and it was getting very loud. And then they said that we would have to agree to, end the interview. And I said that was fine. And then they confided, well, it's the Dalai Lama's birthday party, and we're having a big celebration. Well, Geshe Lharampa Jinpa invited me to the birthday celebration, and that's why I went to the Dalai Lama's birthday party. And I happen to be going to Standard Process Farm. That will be another upcoming interview, which was really close by, just the day after. So I made a trip of it. I went back to Deer Park Buddhist Center in Oregon, Wisconsin, and I attended the Dalai Lama's 90th birthday celebration, which was amazing. There were definitely over 1,000 Tibetans. There were police directing traffic. There were political figures from Wisconsin present and from Madison, and people from all over the country and other parts of the world. And I felt so honored to be a part of this, and it was such a beautiful celebration, and to understand the symbolic significance of this date. The Dalai Lama recently announced he is the 14th Dalai Lama. He is not just he is an individual, but he is also a figurehead, an institution of compassion, and he just recently announced that he will reincarnate. So that is such great news, because that gives us hope for our world, that, that there was a chance he was talking that he will not reincarnate. And I always thought, does that mean, we're in a lot of conflict right now in the world. There is so much division. And the reason the Dalai Lama exists in their philosophy is to serve humanity and to serve humanity globally, and also of Tibet. And if there was no need for him to be present, he would not reincarnate. So it gives me great hope for our future of our world. But being present at that birthday celebration, I also have a couple YouTube videos of that up that you can watch, but to see how they have preserved their culture. Many people, and I met so many Tibetans there that were raised in India. I was told by one of the people there that you'll see in the interview, there are more Tibetans living in India than anywhere else in the world. Many of the people at that celebration that are Tibetan, celebrating their culture, have never been to Tibet. They were not born in Tibet. They can't go to Tibet very easily because Chinese has occupied Tibet, and because if their family has fled the country, it's much more difficult for them to get a visa than, for example, for me to get a visa, which is amazing to me. But to see how strongly and beautifully they have preserved their culture and continued their language, and it continues to grow and spread, is just beautiful without really having a physical home base that is their true origin. So that was wonderful. And I've recently heard from Geshe Lharampa Jinpa. He wrote me a message and he watched that video of the Dalai Lama's birthday party. He said, "That's sweet. Thank you very much." And I said, "Did you watch it?" And he said, "Yes, it was very good." And I also recently heard from Maureen. I reached out to her to tell her that I had this scarf blessed. So the last time after the interview, Geshe Lharampa Jinpa blessed my scarf, and you hold the scarf in your hands and you take your head and you bow over, and he said a blessing and he put it on. I did not film it because I felt it was too sacred to really put into a video and to sensationalize it, but this is a scarf I will always cherish. So thank you, Maureen. I'm trying to get Maureen to do an interview with me. And also, it just makes me wonder, all this happened for a reason, I believe, and I'm not really sure what the reason is, but, my father, I was raised Catholic, and my father was also raised Catholic and became, he studied and practiced Tibetan Buddhism also for about 30 years, so he vacillates between those religions. And so a lot of my upbringing, I had been taught Tibetan Buddhist philosophy. And for example, it's just such a beautiful philosophy. No matter what your religion is, I think everybody in the world can identify and appreciate Buddhist philosophy. What I love about Tibetan Buddhism is they truly embody and practice and believe in compassion. And I was really thinking about all of the religions in the world and how many religions have decided to go to war because of religion. And the majority, Tibetan Buddhism is one of the very few religions in the world that will not go to war. And they truly believe in peace and compassion. And that overrides everything. It overrides power, money, greed, politics. It's I believe, what humans really should be practicing and believing in, and it should be foremost in our decision making, but unfortunately it's not. So being around that philosophy brings me great peace. But when I would talk to my dad, and I'd have these, I get obsessed with problems sometimes, and I would be hashing over the problems with my mom, and she'd be giving me great advice because she's my best friend. And then sometimes I think my dad would get tired of listening to me go on and on and on, and he would grab the phone and he would interject and give me like maybe 3 sentences of advice. And all of a sudden and then he'd say, "I thought my problem's not so big." And he said, "Yep, it's just Buddhism 101. And I thought that's so, it's so true. And my problem would be solved. So a lot of the Buddhist teachings that I've been given from my father, he is my greatest teacher, come from Tibetan Buddhism. So I resonate with that religion and that philosophy very much so. And I do firmly believe that it doesn't have to be a religion. It can just be a philosophy and a way of life to abide by, to live just in more peace and harmony within ourselves. So I hope you get to watch my videos. I'm putting up the interview with Geshe Lharampa Jinpa. I will divide it into 2 parts because it is so long. And I have 2 videos of the Dalai Lama's birthday celebration available to watch as well. And maybe you'll hear from Maureen if possible. Oh, and the other thing is, I may be going to Nepal. I have a student that I always promised I would go see, and he lives in Pokhara, Nepal, and that is where Geshe Lharampa Jinpa, where he actually taught and lived, and it would be so great to go to his monastery. So maybe that will happen too, and the story will continue. But in any regards, Geshe Lharampa Jinpa, you are forever in my heart. Thank you if you're watching this. I hope to see you again soon. And thank you, everybody. I hope you watch my videos. I recently had a viral go short. That was amazing because it hit it's still climbing, but it's almost reaching 30,000 views at this point. So thank you for anyone who's subscribed and watched. And if you like my channel, please pass it on and share it with others. I'm really trying to spread light in the world. So namaste.